Welcome to chapter 1 of Song of Songs. I hope you're as excited as I am to look into this book. We did say yesterday that we're going to look at this book, or we're coming to this book with a posture of learning and picking insights for the sake of our friendships, our relationships, whether that's dating or marriage, whether that is existent or hoped for. And I think what we said and what I'd like to repeat is that this book is a gift, especially in this season where like there's a lot of things going on when it comes to a lot of opinions when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love life and those things. Like there's opinion everywhere, but I think what a gift it is that God so it fit to leave us a book in the Bible that can speak into those things and that can drop insights and drop revelations and wisdom that we need to be able to figure this thing out. This is not the first time that I'm going through this book. I've gone through it personally, I've gone through it in a Bible study, and all the time it's really left me thinking of what a gift it is that God could. You know how we normally say, like, there's nowhere in the Bible where they're like, oh, here are the 8 principles of dating. Imagine they really are there in this book. I think if we take time to lean in, we are going to learn a lot. And so I'm inviting you to this journey. Sorry for all of that banter. But this is not a preaching, it's not a teaching, it's a conversation that we're going to have. So welcome to the conversation, and let's see how it goes. I did promise that we're going to just be looking at one verse per chapter, and I didn't know that I was getting myself into this level of trouble, trying to decide what is the verse that we're going to go with in this chapter. But today in chapter 1, let me introduce the verse that we're going to go through by telling you a little bit about what happened this week. I think this week we've been in a situation where like high schools are being closed left, right, and center because of student unrest. Yeah, and I was just thinking about my own days or our days in high school with a couple of my friends, and we were thinking about that. And it's high school has many memories. One of the memories I have is of a friend of ours who, because in our school we had 2 sets of uniform. So we had uniform for like the ordinary days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we used to wear like gray shirts and gray pants. And then of course not at like gray. There was like different shades for the pants and for the shirts, and it looked nice. But we had like white shirts with ties and blazers for special occasions. Yeah, and so anytime there was a special occasion, whether it's visiting day, parents were coming, or open day, or we had like other schools coming for symposiums and stuff like that, then the teacher on duty would have to tell us like the day before, and they just say, tomorrow guys, it's Sunday best, and everybody knew tomorrow we are looking spick and span, and guys could clean up pretty good, yeah, just for the impression. But then like if you came during the week, you'd find us looking however, just to get by. But there's this one guy who, if it was especially when it was visiting day and his parents were coming, he'd wear Sunday best, but he'd wear some other, like, those clothes that are just barely holding. And we'd be like, dude, we don't get you. When other schools are coming, you look good. In the course of the week, you clean up good. Why is it that when your parents are coming, you dress like, are you trying to embarrass your parents? Like, what's wrong with you? And then the guy would look at us and be like, you guys are the foolish ones. And we'd be like, what do you mean? What do you mean? So one day he was just telling us that you guys don't get it. If the way you guys dress like this, when you dress, your parents are coming visiting day, you're looking neat, you're wearing your best clothes. It's closing day or midterm, you're wearing your best clothes. You guys go home and you struggle to tell your parents that you need new clothes. So in the course of the week, you're here looking, I don't know how. But for me, because I look like this, when I go home and I say I need new clothes, they are bought instantly. Why? Because my parents saw the way I was looking in school. And we were like, man, you are so clever. And I could think of the number of times I'd go home and be like, I need new shirts. But my parents would be like, hey, but see, we saw you visiting day, you are looking good. Wear those ones for one more term and then one term. Wear those ones for one more term and then we will come and give you the right ones and we'll buy you new ones. And I'll be like, man, I don't think you guys get that my clothes need a change. But you see, the thing is, I'm the one who's given the impression that my clothes don't need a change. So I'm struggling, and my pal on the other side is so clever. And I'm like, what? If my parents saw me looking the way that guy used to look, their first stop after that visiting day would be School Outfitters in town where we used to get clothes from. What am I saying? I think there's a chance that we date the same way we dress. Yeah, I think so. We date the same way we dress. In other words, like if you knew you're going for this function, you'd clean up pretty good. You'd make sure you're looking, speak and span, as we used to say in high school, yeah? You'd make sure you're looking like that. When we go for dates, we do what we used to do that best, Sunday best? We put our best foot forward. Best foot forward. We say the right things. We kind of calculate and know how to handle the conversation so that we string it from date 1 to date 2, date 3. It's huko mbele huko date 15, 16 that we are dropping bombs and people are like, oh my God, how did I get myself into this relationship? Who am I with? But then I was looking at verse 6 of this scripture and it says this in the NIV, do not stare at me because I am dark. This is the girl, the lady in the conversation. Remember we spoke about the three voices in the conversation? The lady here is saying, don't stare at me because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons were angry with me and they made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I had to neglect. The Message version says, don't look down on me because I am darkened by the sun's harsh rays. My brothers ridiculed me and they sent me to work on the fields, or in the fields rather. They made me care for the face of the earth, but I had no time to care for my own face. There are two things that I want us to pick from this verse. The first thing that I want us to pick and that I would love for us to see is the level of awareness and vulnerability that this lady is expressing. Awareness in the sense that she's not waiting for the dude to be like, what's up with your face? She knows that her face has been darkened by the sun and she's the one who says it, right? We're not talking about dark skin, light skin here. That's not the concept. And we're not arguing about color and pigment. No, we are talking about the reality that you and I have some things in our lives that we can call the dark faces. The things in our lives that are not the way we want them to be, whether those are habits or patterns, things that we are still working on. And I think what this scripture is encouraging us is this awareness, but not just awareness, but awareness and vulnerability. To know the thing and to speak about the thing to the people that matter to us. And I feel like, by the way, in all honesty, if we actually learned to share the things that we are trying to figure out in life, maybe I'm impatient, maybe I get angry so fast, maybe I'm struggling with how to organize money in my life. If I actually learned to say those things to the people that care for me, the people I'm in relationships with, or the people who I'm in friendships with, if I actually learned to share those things openly, I think and I believe with everything in me that we actually turn those people to be on our teams and they come alongside us and they're like, how can we help you figure this out? And we'd benefit from their support and insight. And this is what this scripture is teaching us, that we need to stop this thing of trying to hide and cover our weaknesses and cover the things in life that are not holding and trying to put this face or acting like it's Sunday best, Well, in reality, we are really, really struggling to figure these things out. And we are afraid that the day the people who care for us, or the people who are getting to know us, the people who are getting close to us, the day they get to discover, they're going to leave. I like this lady because she brings it up fast and she's like, my face is dark, I've been burnt by the sun. It's not the way I like it to be because I've been working out in the vineyards. It's an awareness, it's a level of awareness that it's awareness and vulnerability. Because you see, you can be aware but you start to hide it, or you try to hide it. But when we can mix this awareness with this openness and this vulnerability, this humility, to come out and say, look, this is what I'm really trying to figure out, it turns the people in our lives to come back to our side. You remember my friend and his parents? It was so easy for him to get what he wanted. Why? Because the parents could look at him and be like, yeah, you need shirts. I know that is not the best way to get new clothes off of our parents, but I think that's the thing that we need to see in this scripture, that the lady just brings it up and she says, please don't stare at me because I'm dark. It's the the sun that has darkened my skin. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted us to see, so number one is awareness and vulnerability, in the sense that she says it first, in the sense that she knew herself enough to bring it up. She was confident enough in herself to bring it up and be like, this thing is not the way I want it to be. And that's that sense of awareness and vulnerability. But the second thing I want us to see is what she says in the second part of the verse. She talks about her brothers, and then she says that they made her, the Passion Translation says that they appointed me guardian of their ministry vineyards, yet I have not tended my vineyard within. Yeah, my brothers were angry with me. They forced me to care for their vineyards, so I couldn't care for myself, my own vineyard. I have neglected. What is this about? Yeah, and I was thinking about it, and I thought for a minute that, look, we may not have brothers who are forcing us to take care of their vineyards, but life can force you. Life can demand high levels of responsibility from you. Maybe the demand on your life is your work. Maybe you're running a business and that's the demand on your life. Maybe you're in school and that's the demand on your life. Maybe it's family and that's the demand on your life in this season. I don't know what those demands are, and I don't know what those vineyards are that are demanding for you and pushing you and forcing you, to give them more time and more attention in your life. But I think what this scripture is reminding us is this: please, as you respond to the demands of those vineyards that, quote unquote, you've been sent to by your brothers, by the realities of life, do not forget the vineyard within. Remember the vineyard within. Don't neglect the vineyard within. And what is the vineyard within? It's your inner world. It's your soul. It's who you are on the inside. I don't know if you've heard this quote that says that healthy relationships are built on healthy individuals. Yeah. And this is exactly what this verse is reminding us. It's reminding us to take care of the vineyard within, of the world within. That as we run around, sorting out the world outside there, whether it's family, work, business, whatever those demands might be, please don't forget the vineyard within. How is your vineyard within doing? How are you doing spiritually in your walk with God? How are you doing mentally? How are you doing emotionally? Right? How are you doing intellectually? Are you feeding yourself? Are you feeding your mind? How are you doing in that aspect? How are you doing physically? Are you keeping up with, exercising and eating well and all that? And how are you doing financially? And even if I'm speaking to you and you're like, but I'm not in a relationship and all of that, and so I don't know, but I think, like, even those of us who might be listening who are not in relationships or seasons of dating, actually this applies to you more, because it is now that season where you really must take care of your vineyard within, and guard it, and let it grow, and let it thrive. Because I don't know if you've seen this thing where, sometimes we can pay so much attention to sorting out the outside world. Where do I work? What car do I drive? How do I dress? How do I talk? How do I walk? All those things that matter on the outside. And then we attract people. And the more these people get to know us, they discover that there is just this vacuum inside, and they're like, something is not right here. But I think, like, this scripture is asking us to pay attention to the inside, so that we can then, in a way, really remember what this says, that healthy relationships are built on healthy individuals. Pay attention to the inside. Don't just focus on the outside and the looks and the way things are on the outside, that you forget that you have a vineyard within. She's regretting that she's been taking care of her brother's vineyards, and she's neglected her own vineyard. And I think this is a reminder to us today that, hey, pay attention to who you are inside. Nourish the person inside. Do not neglect that person, because when it really, really, really comes to count, you're going to need them to be healthy, and you're going to need them to be stable, for the sake of the relationships and for the sake of the friendships that you're trying to build. So those are the two things we're learning today. Take care of your vineyard within, number one. And number two, let us grow to this level of self-awareness and vulnerability, where we are able to speak openly about our dark faces and the things in our lives that are not the way they should be. And don't feel bad about it, but speak it in such a way that it introduces us to the support and the love that we need to make these things work. That will be chapter 1 for us, and I'm going to leave it at that for today. Let's catch up tomorrow for chapter 2. Bye.